the first thing. See, so this is back to what you call quantitative linguistics. What gives you the advantage here, and the reason you're given this information, we know how people dispense communications in this society, which is a slave culture. But your advantage is to know better, meaning that you use the language, but you must know that you're in a matrix. You got to learn how to tiptoe through the tulips. That's why you're given this information. Trafficant speech, right? Keep this in mind, you all. Florida Congress, and every once in a while, this is why we remind people every once in a while to go over the congressional records so that you can understand what their position is with you. So this is your Congress, right? All right. So Federal Reserves, this is Representative Trafficant on the Florida Congress, right? Federal Reserves are unsigned checks. Are we clear? That's the greenbacks. We ain't talking about the draft note that you get to go get them. Right? The green things that you think is the money that you think you went and got cashed. They are substitutes for the check. They're not even the check. So keep this in mind. All right, hold on. This, you must be very clear in your head when you're doing business. What gives you the advantage that others don't have is that you know the deck is marked. You don't have to argue it. You're supposed to know it. Meaning that basically you're given free what people pay thousands of dollars for, coded in secret societies. We're giving it to you free. And you're not bound to nothing because it's your birthright. They're imitating you. And they get it in code, signs, symbols, and allegorical stories and must take an oath of death not to reveal the secrets, even with one they're sleeping with. And you're giving it free. And you're taking past 33 degrees. You're giving 360 here. Know that. So you better know what you're talking about, because today we're taking Rome's house down. That's what's happening here. Do you understand? That's what the delivery of your birthright actually is. It's the end of the Roman Empire. This is why information is not wanted by them. So understand, they're not going to just act like they know. You know. Are we clear? This is why, and I pass the pictures around, you see the Europeans wearing your fez right there at Alexandria, Virginia, with your titles: Elan Bey, Muslim, the name of the land, Morocco, and all of their lodges are what? Moorish names. And then they leave their secret societies and go fund a church which is put in place to enslave you. And you think they love Jesus, when they are actually the descendants of the murderer of the Nazarene. And that's what's running the world. Are we clear? So let's get this clear, you all, because it's a very important what's happening here. This silver piece right here is worth about $100. But yet it's a silver dollar. Right? Change the date, it can be up to 1,000. Right? This is fiat. This is a dollar. This is weighed in silver, and also its equivalent in gold constitutes a dollar. Dollar comes from yakun, which is a measurement of gold. Are we clear? Yakun. That's not important right now. I'm going to give you another lesson on that because it's a diversion. Huh? On this particular one, what's the year on that? Now, this is fiat. Are we clear? This is how this thing works. That's the money. That's lawful money. Use the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, tells you that no debt can be paid in the United States without what? And no states can do what? Coin anything but gold or silver coins for payment in debt. Are we clear? Back to your statement. So can the government, who is bound by this, pay you giving you this? They've just given you a debt note on a closed account. Not only that, this is not the original check to draw this. They removed the original check and then created this on the original check. Then removed that out the point, removed this out the point, then put the original check and removed that out the point, then created this fraud and told you this is the money. They removed the truth twice over. They got you under the black code, 1724, sharecropping your own labor. Paid what? You ain't never been paid. Now, once you understand that principle, you understand how to draft constructions of writs when responding to the Inquisition order disguised as the Internal Revenue Services for the popes of Rome, to whom it belongs. To collect for what? The European slaveholders who have stock in North America, particularly under the 14th Amendment. See why it's necessary for them to have Negro leaders, to have you to agree to be civil rights guys under the 14th Amendment? Overseers that you didn't know were overseers? Now you understand why it's necessary for them to pump civil rights knowing it's a fraud? To make you think that you U.S. citizens so that you won't rebel? And you thought slavery was over? That's your bondage, the T-bonds that are traded on the stock market.
Taj.
And you thought it was a chain.
Taj.
Therefore, it's important for you to understand what real bondage is in order to break the bonds. Because you're the creditor. Who's the creditor? The true heir apparent of the estate upon which all the stocks and bonds are liened. Is North America Europe? Central America Europe? Is Americana, the islands, is it Europe? Is America Europe at all? Is Europe America? Then what at point did you get this confused with these European colonists operating in North America that they were Americans? They're colonizing you. You're the product. That's what you've been calling segregation. You don't even know what the problem is. See, so they've given you a false argument. You've been passing it for generations, sacrificing your own babies, telling them to keep hope alive. What you was really telling them, call the next mortuary, because most of them ain't going to get past 25 or 30 if it's up to Rome. Either that or you're going to have them circulating in the concentration camps called prisons and jails. 90%. Now he's coming after all the women. And they're enforcing Treaty of Verona. And we not knowing in North America that we're Americans. They're colonizing you. You're the product. That's what you've been calling segregation. You don't even know what the problem is. See, so they passing it for generations, sacrificing your own babies, telling them to keep hope alive. What you was really telling them, call the next mortuary, because most of them ain't going to get past 25 or 30 if it's up to Rome. Either that or you're going to have them circulating in the concentration camps called prisons and jails. 90%. Now he's after all the women. And they're enforcing Treaty of Verona. And we not knowing real politics is sitting around talking about this racism and prejudice. And they're enforcing the Treaty of Verona. Because you don't know that you're the Moors and Jews that they overthrew. And North America is not India. And we ain't Indians. And as soon as you agree to be Indians, you just passed your estate to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and then they sell your land. It's a game. So this information is given to you so that you can correct your concepts and recognize the real battle that's being waged against you, so you can intelligently approach preserving your birthright, preserving your estate. Are we clear? And understand, in the real world, your religious beliefs are irrelevant. However, you must declare your name and your religion in order to be in what you would call civilized society. Are we clear? And true religion is not a belief system. True religion is a knowledge system of how nature works, how divine law works, how it functions universally. Are we clear? Meaning mathematically testable, not wavery, like, you know, you believe one thing today and then stuff ain't working, so you adopt something else next week. Real religion don't work like that. Are we clear? It's testable. All right? Now, this is why, for instance, it confuses some people when they see Europeans with fezzes on in their secret societies, and then they're Christians on the surface. Yet, it confuses people why Jefferson and Ben Franklin, John Adams all had Korans. Keep in mind, all high priests know that these are degrees. Do you understand? So they got a Quran, a Bible, Tanakh, Torah, the four Vedas, etc. Septuagint, all the books. Kybalion. Huh? Yes, Book of the Dead. You know they got the Book of the Dead. All of them. Why do you think they all study as a landmark? But remember, landmark is still modern. Egypt. And so the people will be looking at it like, oh man, that's like ancient. No, it's like modern. It's just one of the last vestiges of preserved, to some limited degree, of the older world. But yet, that's modern to us. But it's a reference point for any Renaissance man. Do you understand? So therefore, when you see the rabbis that rule the world, you understand them, Yahudi, them Europeans, huh? They got the Torah for the masses, but in secret they got the Torah, Quran, Tanakh, Pentateuch, four Vedas, the Magian law. Same thing with them imams. Same thing with them preachers. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's just that they don't bring them books to their bill payers who are left on the believer degree. Are we clear? Don't take it personal. Because you're giving this information to save yourselves. You're not giving this information to change your beliefs. Beliefs will get you killed. Psalm says, Islam, good brother.
With the name, how does ex relation relate to the corporate name and the free national name?
Now, keep this in mind, and this is again, even with anyone, like say for instance, you see a lot of venues where, because the European is recognizing that people are waking up, they've thrown the UCCs out there to divert people from claiming the estate and making them think that you can use a commercial venue to gain an unalienable right, which is not commercial. Get the point? All right. Now, in law, the 14th Amendment is essentially called the straw man, the man of straw, as you see in the Wizard of Oz. The lion represents Judah. We're Judah. hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass. He come amongst his own, you receive him not. Now you got Roman names, Rome ruling you, you buying and selling with the mark of Rome's name. Thus, what establishes that in society is the 14th Amendment, which establishes in legal process the straw man, plus the specious arguments that are constructed in any court venue or social venue or commercial venue concerning all matters of estate concerning the straw. All right? So the straw is always in all caps, right? Excuse me, I apologize here. Or remember, for those who are less familiar, any mail that you get from the corporate U.S., because it's a surety and holding corporation, they will send you mail with a name that appears like yours, and it will be in all capital letters. They're letting you know that a Sister Q trust exists in that name. Are we clear? And the name is not your attribute. The name is to present a phonic that appears to be like you. If you answer to it without qualification, you have sanctioned it. Keep in mind, you can take a child, take a little child, right, and give them basic grammar. When they start in the 1st and 2nd grade and they start teaching them how to write their name, right, they'll give them a pale green piece of paper with a blue and red faded lines on them for uppercase letters and lowercase to train children. Are we clear?
If Moors are saying authenticate the birth certificate, if Moors are saying capture the straw man, that's fraud. And those Moors are a fraud for telling you to do that. If Moors are saying capture the straw man, and Moors are saying authenticate the birth certificate, those Moors telling you that are a fraud. And check the pinned comment, the email's right there. That's why the comment's pinned right there. So you don't have to guess what you're doing. The stuff's right there.
We have adults, whereas the corporate state will send them obligations, bills, etc. in all capitals, and and adults don't even challenge it, which means they're boys and girls, which means they're incompetent. Now, they have established a straw before your face in violation of fundamental 3rd grade grammar. You don't contest it. It is, by not contesting it, it's assumed wrongfully, immorally, unethically, but assumed to be a waiver. So now you start transacting business, and anything that they send you that requires a signature is a deposit. You clear? Anything that you deal with the banks, say you put something in the bank, right? You put something in the bank, and then you put another instrument and you take something out the bank, right? In banking, both of those are deposits. Are we clear? In your mind, you think you withdrew something. They're both deposits. Are we clear?
I'm not clear.
We're talking real world. This is why remind you, that's why I built it up, and we want everybody to be clear. The masses think they have money. You're operating with the mental that you're dealing with money. You're not dealing with money. You're dealing with movements against your estate. You're a creditor. They switch places with you, make you think they're giving you something, therefore you're operating as a debtor. Because you don't know you're standing on Morocco. You're thinking Europeans are Americans and they got a bank and they're giving you stuff, when they're really here to steal your stuff. And everything they transact with you is against the Moorish estate. And if you're operating not knowing that, you're usually going to get screwed. Remember, this is Masonic knowledge that's not spoken in open, but it's operative at all time. Why do you think Illuminati claims your seal? Because you haven't claimed it. Do you understand? That's your seal. This is why no politician speaks under it, because they can't speak under it. Because they're not the sovereign heir. You are. Now, but you're silent. Acquiescence. Now, in law, the straw man construct. Go look it up. A lot of people get UCCs and think they can make claims on that straw. Right? The only one that can speak for that straw for the sureties holding company is the Attorney General of the United States, or some other proper person. That's ex relation. Meaning that you didn't create the straw, therefore you can't capture it. Because if your instrument is to be honored in contract law, it's measured by the same principle by which you're charging them on the construction of the straw. Now, if you're going to try to be the beneficiary of the straw and impose yourself on the board so that you can dip your hand in this bottomless account, you just sanction the straw. Yeah, you're on the board, but you're a non-voting partner now. Now you just sanction them and let them off the hook for future reparation charges into World National Court. Why do you think they put them UCCs out there? They're offering you an apple. That apple looks like, boy, it's nice and shiny. It's wormy. I thought that was seasoning. No, it's worms. This is why you be careful with the UCCs. Yet that's how everything operates here. No, you're not listening. The danger is when one thinks that the UCCs make you sovereign. The UCCs is the art and the cunning of doing commercial business. And it is the construct that the popes of Rome set up when they overthrew the world in order to hide the truth that the people aren't being paid, that they're absolutely dealing in bottomry instruments in order to protect their fraud. This is why every time they build anything with you, like say for instance they do a mortgage with you, or if they're doing any what you call a deep what they call credit line, you know, we ain't talking about the everyday credit card, we're talking about deep credit line, that they must create a straw and a sister Q trust that they walk in and out of, but they don't discuss things with you on that degree. But that's what's in operation. The point is you're supposed to know that. So now they have this bottomry instrument in operation, but you cannot claim a straw or a corporate entity that you did not create. If you create an instrument to make a claim or to be a surety holder or a holder in due course of some property, some instrument, some transaction, etc., keep in mind UCC 1, UCC 9 deals with the actual production, meaning that if you're introducing an instrument in law to make a claim, it must already have existed. And it's on an actual sale, provable sale. That's what that's based on. And what you see is people keep trying to do an after the fact capturing of the birth certificate under the promise that they can capture it. Because remember, that's an instrument, bottomry instrument that the corporate state issued, and it belongs to them under the Christian black codes of how they have been, how do you say, bureaucratized slavery. Now keep looking, listening to what I'm saying. Think contract law. Think contract law, think estate, because that's the two things that are in operation. So principle of contract law is what is measured when they measure your claim, if you're a holder in due course of something. Since you didn't create the birth certificate and it's a fraud, the wise thing for you to do is to refute it and charge them with fraud of creating it. And then because it has an interest on you, yet you didn't create it, you do what is called in law an ex relation or an ex rel. So you're speaking lawfully as in propria persona su juris, but you have a superior claim because you're in propria persona su juris su heritus, heir. Now you can speak on the straw without claiming to be the straw, nor sanctioning its existence, because you have an information on it. That's called ex relation.
Right? That's called ex relation. Cujo L. Ex relation. They know exactly what we're talking about if we know what we're talking about. If we don't know what we're talking about, then they're going to go ahead with their little game that they play in order to steal your birthright.
Well, see, because this is the deal. Keep in mind, the same way if the corporate state make a charge on you, right? So like if a judge say, as an example, sis, you know you had your pocketbooks tied to your sneaks on Thursday, and that's a violation of the driver's code 251-581 McDonald's hat. And you say, yeah. And they say it's a fine and all that stuff, right? And then and says so the state charges you, right, with this, and you go, yeah. And you said, I lost my job at McDonald's last week. And you start crying and everything. They don't care. What you're really supposed to say, state's a mere corporation constructed on paper. It can't speak. Who's the injured party? Where's the corpus delicti? Do you understand? So if you don't know that, you're going to be I didn't mean to hit the cat. I just almost hit it. Don't even get into subject matter. Same thing. Understanding that the U.S. is a corporation on paper, so is the corporate state. There's no injured party. You're talking about a corporate interest on an information, on an instrument that they've been using to rape you. You're trying to get some control of it. Understand they will never deliver to you any original documents. No clerk anywhere delivers to anyone any original documents. So it's no such thing as capturing that birth certificate, though the promise is made. It is better that you refuse to speak on an information and then start suing them for the fraud in your proper person. Because keep in mind, in the Negro status of 14th Amendment, you can't sue anyway, which is another reason they created that status. Are we clear? Now, so what you start doing is things reference to that. If you want to start getting some control of that straw, this is why you say that you're the authorized representative. So you would say Freddie Jones, right? And then you would say, and you put that in all capital letters, right? And then you put, you put your free national name, and then you put ex-rel, Freddie Jones, all cap. Then you'd have authorized representatives. See, because if you don't represent it, they do. Remember, the representation is automatic. But remember, a corporate entity can't really represent anything. There's some beneficiary who's operating by virtue of the corporation that's claiming to be the authorized representative, which is usually someone from the Barristers Association representing the corporate state and thus representing the straw and having the capacity to do so because they created it. Now, how can you interfere with that? You've got to be a proper person who has an information on it to interject your argument.
What information do I have?
This is legal. In other words, you already know they're using it against you, right? Because this is how they create what you call their spurious arguments. And this is how they move things in and out of the Sister Q trust. Because essentially, and keep this in mind, because this is what they do with the birth certificates, marriage certificates, mortgages, all of them. And this is why they sell mortgages within 72 hours. They get the people arguing the mortgage when they don't want the mortgage. The mortgage is the doorway to your trust. They set up the sister queue. So within 72 hours, they sell the mortgage, get paid, not paid, well, get credit against your account on the mortgage, right? Like say if they do, say a mortgage, you think you're buying a house, right? And down the street, so you get this house costs $450, right? $450,000, right? And so you go do and sign all this stuff and everything. I guarantee you're not walking out that building with no $450,000 because they ain't giving it to you. They ain't even going to give you the check. They're going to send a check to their boy, and they assign themselves as your trustee against your estate. And you be saying, I just got $450,000. I just bought a house. You ain't bought nothing. You bought what you did, agreed to a sharecropping agreement. Do you understand? And on the instrument somewhere they'll have dedonus, which is gift. And this is the reason why within 72 hours they sell the mortgage. This is how it's structured. What they want is the trustee position. Now keep in mind, in trust law, you can't be the beneficiary and the trustee too, because the trust collapses. This is why they always create what they call a substitute trustee. So they, on the immediate front, they can't be charged with fraud, although it's a fraud. But their basis is that you're incompetent. And so you're assigning your property to them because you're not capable of taking care of it because if you think you're black, they already know no such people exist. So already they know that you're a 730, you ain't got, just ain't took your Ritalin. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm just telling you how this stuff really works. So they go to DDCC in New York, they monetize it, they get paid the full amount, and then you promise to pay it back. So now they sell shares, which is called an allonge, A-L-L-O-N-G-E. Right? On your estate. So now their job is to take care of your estate. You put this burden on them. I don't know why you did that. That's what you're paying. So you think you're paying mortgage payments, right? They'll put 2 cents against the principal and the rest goes to them and to an escrow account that they create on your trust that is yours, but you're incapable of dealing with, so they can walk in and out of it, called the sister queue, and that's how they get rich. Meanwhile, you're in debt against your own estate, not because it ain't your estate, because you just promised to pay. So they changed the mortgage to a promissory note. And they're holding you to your promise.
Okay, now going back to the ex relation, and
it was argue it just as if you captured it.
Okay.
But this protects you in your communications because you want to be careful not appearing to seek a benefit in it. Because that's what they want you to do. Because as soon as you've done it, seeking the benefit alone sanctions the straw that you should be refuting. Meaning that, listen, this is what they want you to do. Listen carefully. The whole thing is that they're giving you nothing. 2, They know that they and you are standing on Morocco. They know that the masses don't know they're standing on Morocco. They know that the masses think that they came from someplace else and that these Europeans brought them here. They don't know their home. They don't know they're heirs to this vast estate. Mentally, they're operating like a refugee. So everything that the Europeans do is sort of like a gift. They're doing you a favor for taking care of your stuff that you don't know is your stuff, which makes you incompetent. Right? So from a legal perspective, as far as trustee is concerned, they are rightful what? Executioners of your estate, which is necessary for them to create the 14th Amendment, because they're not saying it's a real person. They are saying it's a corporate entity. You don't want to keep saying it's you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they make T-bonds on it. And that's the bondage. And you ain't refuting it, so it's not unlawful, because voluntary servitude is not unlawful. Involuntary servitude is. Right? And so they created a third-party trustee so that when the stuff hits the fan, they just flip it to the third-party trustee. This is why when you see people start going in foreclosures and you don't pay, and then you start getting these letters and they talk about a third-party trustee, because they created that from the beginning. Why? Because they've been getting the benefit in your trust, and they can't be looking like they've been getting the benefit. So they shift it off, right? Although there's still a connection. And then you ask them, well, this is really getting confusing. Let me see the original mortgage. I ain't got it. What you mean you don't got it? You get the point? Because they sold it. Well, if they sold the mortgage and you've been paying for the mortgage, how come you paying them? And how can they take you to court for this credit card or this mortgage that they sold? And if they sold it, they got paid. Did they notify you and give you some cash? Something's fishy here. Right? But they know that the average person doesn't think. Why? Because they have controlled your education, your miseducation. Because we had degrees on the wall, we swear, I graduated. Sit, like this, there it goes. And they be laughing all the way to the bank. Islam, I'm going to finish in a minute. Islam, good brother.
Now that we know that we've been defrauded, what's the next step?
See, now look at this. And this is back. Before you can even make an argument, keep in mind, this is ex relation. In order for one to even make a lawful argument, you must be or have the status judicio standi, which means you must have standing in law. And keep in mind, since you're talking property, status equals estate. Write that down. This is very important for you all to recognize. Status equals estate. And this is another issue where people get this thing twisted when they just jump on the UCCs and just think it just makes them. Status and estate goes together. And if the status is neutralized, the claim on the estate is neutralized. Are we clear? Most of the time, people don't think about that because it's not in their consciousness. They just think because the words is like powerful. Oh, you know, boy, this, yeah. Oh, man, this is tight. Oh, this is my cookies. No, you just hold them. This is why all the instruments, like the mortgages and the so-called credit card, etc., you will be listed as a franchisee and tenant, because you don't own crap. Are we clear? Now, in law, this is why I said, so when you're talking court, right? Court is society. Most things that's done in commerce and trade is done on paper. Once in a while, they hit rooms of arbitrary that you call courtrooms. Usually only to after the aggregate is washed away, they're dealing with what you will call concrete issues of controversy. And would be, whether it's admiralty, equity, etc. Persons between arguments between the same state, persons of different states, etc., and foreign states is called diversity. Are we clear? Because it deals with what you call universal principle. Now keep this in mind, status. When one makes a plea before the court, all pleas before the court, that means all movements in the court, must be in propria persona. Because if pleaded by an attorney, you admit the jurisdiction, as attorney is an officer of the court and is presumed to have taken leave before the argument is even made. And because he's an officer of the court, his operations and his orders and his loyalty is first to the court. He becomes what? A tie-wearing bounty man. You just paid him to deliver you. Do you understand? Now, if you're talking about an estate, you're not going to speak because he's going to speak for you. And he helped create the constructs that stole your birthright in the first place. And if you didn't know that, and you hired him to talk about your estate, that means you're incompetent. So if you can't present yourself in propria persona, you will be represented by another man, especially if you're using his name. Thus nationalized in order to have the capacity to even make the argument. That's what you do next. That's why you're giving this information. In other words, we're giving you information so that you can understand politically and legally and lawfully what role nationalization plays relative to your estates. Not knowing it is dangerous. And of course, this is what puts us at a disadvantage. Islam says.
Islam, Taj. Oh, can't get it. We put in our paper.
Boy, I can read your mind already. What are you talking about, that 14th Amendment thing?
Yes, yes.
Boy, it's shining off your head.
What do we do now that...
In other words, once you understand these principles, you know what's what. Which means con artists can't take you for a ride. They take you for a ride when you're green behind the ears.
Exactly.
They take you for a ride when you're green behind. Don't get angry, get wise.
So can we undo this?
Don't get angry, get wise.
Okay.
Don't get it. Listen. I know what's happening. Because as soon as I could read your mind as soon as you jumped up. We ain't competing. We're just freeing you. Do you understand?
Right, so they went to somebody, they sold them some package that put them under the 14th Amendment. Then they come to this class, and then they're hearing the real deal that these people who sold them the package should have told them. So it's not that we're competing with dirty Moors. It's not that we're at issues with our brother and our sisters. The issue is that some of us are traitors and some of us are righteous. And you keep siding with the traitors. And then when we call you out, say, oh yeah, those guys are traitors, you're looking at us like we're against somebody. This is not a debate. This is not a competition to see who has the best info to get there's only one info. We're Moors. And if you study, you would know that we're Moors, and then you would start governing yourself accordingly relative to the fact that we're Moors. Because you can't govern yourself as a Moor if you're a Negro. And the only way that you're going to be governed as a Negro, claiming that you're a Moor, is if somebody put you onto it like that. Because if you would study, you would find this stuff out. If you listen to the right people, you would find this stuff out. It wouldn't be confusing. You wouldn't be going to court and getting railroaded by these people if you stuck to the program that was laid down for you years ago. That works. You want microwave dinner, and then we start putting out the microwave dinner, and you're mad. Don't get mad. That's what you say you wanted. If you want a 8-course meal, you're going to go in the kitchen and go cook. The mindset is be a chef. The mindset is go catch the chicken, pluck it, gut it, chop up all the pieces, and go fry your chicken, not go to KFC.
Sam, we raised him too. He just came in for this. Those who don't know become victims until you find out that they was your cookies all the time. In other words, like this, in propria persona, you will be represented by another man, especially if you're using his name. Thus nationalized in order to have the capacity to even make the argument.
Oh yeah, we always
That's
save
what
our
you
lives.
do next.
Just check our IGTV.
That's why
All the
you're getting
lives
this
that we've
information.
ever done are up there.
In other words, we're giving you information so that you can understand politically and legally and lawfully what role nationalization plays relative to your estates. Not knowing it is dangerous. And of course, this is what puts us at a disadvantage. Islam says.
Islam, Taj. Oh, can't get it. We put in our paper.
Boy, I can read your mind already. We you talking about that 14th Amendment thing.
Yes, yes.
Boy, it's
what
shining
do we-
off your head.
What do we do now that
In other words, once you understand these principles, you know what's what. Which means the con
It's a
artists
bull
can't take
crap.
you. Con artists can't take you for a ride. They take you for a ride when you're green behind the ears.
exactly?
They take you for a ride when you're green behind. Don't get angry, get wise.
So can we undo this?
You don't get angry, get wise.
Okay.
Don't get listen. I know what's happening. Because as soon as I could read your mind as soon as you jumped up. We ain't competing. We're just freeing you. Do you understand? We raised him too.
Oh yeah, and who they're talking about is Ali Muhammad, who's doing the ARNA stuff right now. Right? Aboriginal Republic of North America BS. Remember, this is 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And Ali Muhammad is still playing the same 14th Amendment games with people, still. Even though he's getting talked about right now, and anybody who's in the circle knows that Grand Sheikh Nature El Bey, and Taj Tarik Bey are the ones who schooled him as to what this is about. And he got the info and he went over there and started sell whatever he's selling, which is tying people to the 14th Amendment because it's on the nationality cards that he's selling that you're a 14th Amendment citizen. But, you know, Taj doesn't call people's name and stuff like that, you know. And Grand Sheikh Nature, he's not even online like that. You're not even gonna. That's why we're here. That's why we were sanctioned. That's why every dirty Moor that sticks their head up out their hole, we whack-a-mole them. Every one of them. Because we're the exposers of these people, been the exposers of these people. And there ain't nobody taking what we're saying serious because, you know, Cujo is just angry. And he doesn't want unity with his brothers and all that stuff. But we're letting you know because we came up under the master teachers. So they told us everybody who's a fraud. Everybody who's a fraud. And they all know that we know that they're a fraud, which is why they never going to bring us up. They're never going to bring up Canaanland Wars debate, Cujo and all that stuff. They already know what's up. They already know we got their files and stuff like that. on them that they don't want released. So they're gonna zip the lip. They aren't talking about Grand Sheik Kudrow. They're gonna debate everybody else out here that's some more, talk BS about everybody else. Never they're gonna bring up Grand Sheik Kudrow, because they already know who my master teachers are, and all my master teachers also taught them. So how come they're talking packages and telling you BS, not telling you what the master teachers taught? Because they're traders.
He just came in for this. Those who don't know become victims until you find out that they was your cookies all the time. In other words, like this: anything constructed in color remains color. It creates no office. It constructs no power. It has no jurisdiction against truth and validity. For the truth always is what it is and will never pass away. What must be understood is that as you begin to wake up, opportunists will come and offer you apples. Do you understand? But the deal of it is, don't get too angry. Well, you can if you feel like it, but you ain't got time for that, because it's too much work to do. We got too much work to do. This is the reason why we're trying to make sure that you all have fundamental keys. When we leave, if you can't operate on your own, meaning like this, we will talk sometime. The real truth is, when the student is ready, the master will appear. The master is self.
They're not conversos, they're traders. They're not conversos, they're dirty Moors. They're not conversos, they're robbers. They're not conversors, they're sellouts. They're not conversos, they're boule. They're not conversos, they're talented tenth. They're not conversos, they're disinformation dozen. They're not conversos, they work for the other side against you.
However, those who would bring the truth are few. They do not make followers out of men. Men love to follow, not to lead.
Listen.
But true sages do not promote leadership because they know that's the banal degree.
Listen.
But the masses don't know it because rarely do the priests take them above the ascended degrees. Do you understand? Keys are given to you to free you and to free your children, which means when we leave, you're supposed to be able to run this stuff yourself. We just come together to encourage you. Meaning when we come back here again, we're just cheerleading you and reminding you what you already know, or even taking things that you already know and giving you some cornerstones to it that might have been missing. Are we clear? But when you're able to see, then you can't be fooled. You see? And all it is, when people know, see, it's like this. Put it this way. When those who know the truth see injury, it's two things they can do. They can keep their brother, or they can keep what belongs to their brother. Some choose to keep what belongs to their brother and still being keepers of their brothers. Truth is designed because we are our brother's keeper. If you see the injury, the truth belongs to them already. It is not yours if you're a channel, and must never be treated that way, because we all have one mother and one father. We've been deceived by Romans, and Romans have been living in your land, calling themselves Americans and calling themselves the supreme title of sovereign white man. Our people thought it was real, but it's an illusion. And when they confess these things, they themselves render power unto them. He has no power except what you keep giving him. And the deal of it is we don't know because we don't know law. You see?
Which is why, again, they never bring up Noble Drew Ali. They would bring up everybody else. They would never bring up Noble Drew Ali. Why? Because he brought you law, which is the thing that's going to save you. He brought you civics, which is the thing that's going to save you. He brought you know thyself, which is the thing that's going to save you. All these people want you to do is be a follower. All these people want you to be chasing these people around the place as if they have some type of authority greater than you, when you're the authority. Now are you the authority, and then you're chasing somebody thinking that they're the authority. Taj included, because people be chasing him when he tells them, don't follow me. And then they're chasing him. We have his number so we could have a conversation with Taj because he's going to give me the answers. No, going to study is going to give you the answers. You don't have no answers for you. Trust me, I know. When we went to North Carolina, myself and Taj slept in the same room. And I wasn't up with him till 3 o'clock in the morning in his ear, asking questions about stuff that I could go study. I went to sleep. Him and sitting around them and watching the fight. Even talking about no Moorish anything. Moors are watching the fight. They're building law dictionaries out, and they're up for 20 hours because Taj is in the room. And then no, it was none of that. They were watching the fight. I went to my bed because I don't watch boxing. I care less. I went to sleep. And then I woke up in the morning, Taj was asleep, snoring. Now waking him up, asking no questions. Let him sleep. Put in enough work. Put in enough work. Right? Don't be a follower. Be a leader. And then when you're a leader, don't tell people follow you. Help them be a leader. Don't make them your follower now that you're a leader. And then get with some other leaders and help them lead.
But it does allow, it leaves you open for opportunists to see that you are not baptized yet. Because you haven't been reborn with a new mind. So while your mind is unclear, they like jackals and they seize upon you. You know, like Little Red Riding Hood? Got the hood and everything, got her red on and stuff. She's chilling. Got her little basket and stuff. She just swinging on down, going to visit grandmom, right? All in the woods by herself. Cute little girl, right? So Wolf over there laying up there, chilling out, waiting for him, right? Hit grandmom in the closet and everything. So Little Red Riding Hood comes in there and says, Dad, Granny, what big teeth you got? Oh, they're just extensions. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Dad, Granny, look at them nails and you need a pedicure. Oh, yeah, let me pull the blanket over it and everything. Oh, how the story really goes, not like they tell you. So Little Red Riding Hood comes home, hood all messed up, pregnant. Biscuits is out of the basket and everything like that, because she was naive. Why? Common sense told, man, grandma ain't hairy. It's sort of like the same thing when the Bible says what? Yahshua had hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass. And you go to them buildings, they got a Roman sitting up there. Ain't that the Little Red Riding Hood syndrome? Ain't the Romans the one with the dark priesthood that assassinated the Nazarene? Don't 90% of our people this weekend will be going to buildings with Romans sitting up on the walls talking about they did Jesus? Same thing. Wonder why they ain't have nothing? You know, he got hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass. He said, I come amongst my own, they receive me not. Oh, they want Romans? There you go. Got Roman names, they bind and sell with the mark of the Roman's name, don't own nothing. don't understand nothing about status, and lost their estate, and don't know who they are. This is